betrothed to me forever. I'll betroth you to me in righteousness and in justice, in mercy and loving kindness. I'll betroth you to me in faithfulness, and then, oh then, you shall know the Lord. In mercy and loving kindness, I'll betroth you to me in faithfulness, and then, oh then, you shall know the Lord. I'll betroth you to me forever. I'll betroth you to me in righteousness and in justice, in mercy and loving kindness. I'll betroth you to me in faithfulness, and then, oh then, you shall know the Lord. In mercy and loving kindness, I'll betroth you to me in faithfulness, and then, oh then, you shall know the Lord. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. I'll betroth you to me forever. I'll betroth you to me in righteousness and in justice, in mercy and loving kindness. I'll betroth you to me in faithfulness, and then, oh then, you shall know the Lord. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Adonai Echad. Adonai Echad. Adonai Echad.
Shabbat Shalom, Mishpaha. Good to see you all here. It's finally Shabbat. Barak Yahuah. I know it's been a long week for me and others as well. But we got through another week with the help of Yahuah. Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Good to see so many
Shabbat
here.
Shalom.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom, Sophia. Good to see you all. Shabbat Shalom, Kelly, Andrea, Jacob, Ken, Wendy, Miranda, Sumi and Brandon, Natalie, Kelly, Brother Kelly, Dwayne, Silas, Tracy, Jackie. Let's see, Christina. Shabbat Shalom Mishpaha. Much love to you all. So, there's Marissa. Shabbat Shalom, sister.
Shabbat Shalom.
So, we're going to be doing our Torah portion today, which is Shmot, or names. And we're going to be getting into the book of Exodus. So, it'll be Exodus chapter 1 to chapter 6, verse 1. And then the corresponding chapters in Jubilees will be 46 to 48, verse 3. And I know we read over Jubilees 46 last week, but it's going to go with this Torah portion as well. And you all see why. But let me reply in the chat so everybody can see. Oops. All right, Exodus, right at the beginning. And we're going to go over, so if you don't all know already, I'm putting together a book. And what it's going to entail is really everything that's in my main write-up, but more organized, laid out a lot better, just refined, and some more information added as well. And I was going to basically show everybody the layout of it as well. We're going to read the first 3 chapters of it. And I'm pretty excited about it. And I'm excited to show you all that. So, Barak Yahuah. And let's see, we got Kayleen and the House of Pacey as well. Shabbat Shalom Mishpacha. You guys are right on time. So let me share my screen. And then actually we will start off with some prayer. And then we'll get to the reading here in Exodus. Father Abba Yahuah, we come to you in prayer to thank you for this Shabbat fellowship and this fellowship in general. We love coming together, all the like-mindedness, and searching for your truth. And we just thank you for your Kodesh Shabbat day. We love it. We truly need it. And I wanted to also pray for blessings and guidance and wisdom as we read and we study through your word. I wanted to say a prayer for those who are struggling through different trials or tribulations, stresses, burdens, whatever it may be. We all need your help, Father, and your strength to be able to endure to the end. And I pray to you in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, and let it be so. Excuse me. All right, so we're going to start off with the Torah portion for today. And we're going to be starting right here in the book of Exodus. Pretty excited for that. We're almost finished with Jubilees as well, as Jubilees, only has 50 chapters. But chapter 50 of Jubilees is really the most interesting, and there's a lot of in-depth things we can get into when we go through that. But we're only reading to Jubilees 48 today, so that won't be for this week. But Shabbat Shalom to everybody, Sister Esme and Sister Tabitha. Shabbat Shalom. You guys are just on time.
Shalom.
All right, so I'll go ahead and start Exodus, and we'll get right into this. Pretty excited for it all. All right, so Exodus chapter 1. And these are the names of the children of Israel who came to Mitzrayim with Yaakov, each one with his household: Reuben, Shimeon, Levi, and Yehuda; Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin; Dan and Naphtali; Gad and Asher. And all those who were descendants of Yaakov were 70 beings, as Joseph was already in Mitzrayim. And Joseph died, and all his brothers, and all that generation. And the children of Israel bore fruit, and increased very much, multiplied, and became very strong, and the land was filled with them. And a new sovereign arose over Mitzrayim, who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, "See, the people of the children of Israel are more and stronger than we. Come, let us act wisely towards them, lest they increase. And it shall be, when fighting befalls us, that they shall join our enemies and fight against us, and shall go up out of the land." So in the book of Jubilees, which we read last week and we're going to read again, but we see more information about this Pharaoh, this sovereign that was over Mitzrayim, who didn't know Joseph. But we see this Pharaoh, he was seeing, how Baruch, how blessed Israel were. They were increasing, multiplying, and he was scared that if some type of war came up, whatever it may be, that they would join the enemies in fighting against them, which that's a really big assumption and an inaccurate one. Shabbat Shalom, House of Pacey. All right, so verse 11, excuse me. So they appointed slave masters over them to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew. And they were in dread of the children of Israel. So they were just becoming more and more scared. And the Mitzrayites made the children of Israel serve with harshness. And they made their life bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all kinds of work in the field. And all their work, which they made them do, was with harshness. Hey, Jennifer and Rebecca, Shabbat Shalom. That's awesome. Love it. And then the sovereign of Mitzrayim spoke to the Hebrew midwives. So the Hebrew word for, Hebrew. So spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of who the name of one was Siphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when you deliver the Hebrew women and see them on the birth stools, if it is a son, then you shall put him to death. But if it is a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives revered Elohim and did not do as the sovereign of Mitzrayim commanded them, and kept the male children alive. So the sovereign of Mitzrayim called for the midwives and said to them, why have you done this, and kept the male children alive? And the midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Mitzrayim women, for they are lively and give birth before the midwives come to them. So we see Yahuah bless them by, giving birth, being able to give birth before any midwives are even able to come there. Sorry, just reading chat there. So Elohim was good to the midwives, and the people increased and became very numerous. And it came to be because the midwives revered Elohim, that he provided households for them. And Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, throw every son who is born into the river, and keep alive every daughter. So we see this was like the burden, the curses, all of that was coming upon Israel. And it was brought to them by, Mitzrayim, Egypt. They're being put in bondage by Egypt. Which is interesting because, Egypt can also represent our flesh. How we can be in bondage to our own flesh. And it won't be in this Torah portion, but as we will read throughout Exodus, we will see Israel being freed from the bondage, but they want to go back to the bondage of the flesh. And the Pharaoh can represent that, narcissistic Leviathan Jezebel Ruach. And they kept wanting to go back to that. Really unfortunate. But we'll get into all that when we actually read through that part of the Torah portion. I just wanted to mention all that. And then Sumi or Brandon, you want to read Exodus chapter 2?
Yeah.
Awesome. Shabbat Shalom, by the way, sister.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Brandon's going to read first.
Awesome.
This one, chapter 2.
Shabbat Shalom, brother.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah, chapter 2.
All right. This is in a man of the
brother.
I got you, brother. And this is in a man of the house of Levi went out and married a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bore a son, and she saw that he was a lovely child. And she hid him 3 months. And when she could hide him no longer, she took an ark of papyrus for him and coated it with tar and pitch and put the child in it and laid it in the reeds by the edge of the river. And the sister stood at a distance to know what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her young women were walking by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her female servant to get it, and opened it and saw the child, and see the child wept. So she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the children of Ibram. And his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Ibri woman to nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the girl went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Take this child away and nurse him for me. Then I shall pay your wages. So the woman took the child and nursed him. And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moshe, saying, Because I have drawn him out of the water. And in those days it came to be, when Moshe was grown, that he went out to his brothers and looked at their burdens, and he saw a Mitzrite beating an Ibri, one of his brothers. So he turned this way and that way, and when he saw no one, he smote the Mitzrite and hid him in the sand. And he went out the second day and saw 2 Ibrim fighting, and he said to the one who did the wrong, Why do you smite your neighbor? And he says, Who made you a head and judge over us? Do you intend to slay me as you slew the Mitzrite? And Moshe feared and said, Truly the matter is known. And Pharaoh heard of this matter, and he sought to kill Moshe. But Moshe fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. And he sat down by a well. And the Kohen of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and they filled the troughs to water their flocks, their father's flock. But the shepherds came and drove them away. Then Moshe stood up and came to their rescue and watered their flock. And they came to Reuel, their father, and he said, "How is it that you have come to so soon today?" And they said, "A Mitzrite rescued us from the hand of the shepherds, and he also drew enough water for us and watered the flock." And he said to his daughters, "And where is he? Why did you leave the man? Call him and let him eat bread." And Moshe agreed to dwell with the man, and he gave Zipporah his daughter to Moshe, and she bore him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, "I have become a sojourner in a foreign land." And it came to be after these many days that the sovereign of Mitzrayim died, and the children of Israel groaned because of the slavery, and they cried out. And their cry came to Elohim because of the slavery. And Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Yitzhak, and with Yaakov. And Elohim looked on the children of Israel, and Elohim knew. I just got a little something that popped up in my head when I was listening to how he fed the women and their flock too. Didn't who was it that did that? It was the Eliezer came and he said that let this woman feed me and feed my camel also. I don't know. That just popped in my head. That was pretty cool.
No, yeah.
All right.
I believe that happened with someone else as well. It's happened quite a few times, but yeah, no, that's awesome. Thanks for pointing that out, brother. And some things stood out to me as well. So, number one, an ark is describing it as an ark that Moses was put in, that Moshe was put in. Who else was on that ark? Well, Noah. You know that the basket that's more commonly used that Moses was put in, it's called the ark, and it was round. So another reason why, the Ark of Noah could have possibly been round as well, because we see the tabernacle is round. So
That's another
just some
reason why y'all just
connections
need to come on over to the Ozarks. Come on over to the Ozarks.
Right? The Ozarks. That's a good one. I like it. Very interesting stuff. And then, so the priest of Midian, which was interesting as well, and Moshe was given a daughter of the priest of Midian. We know they could have possibly been following Yahuah there in Midian as well. Otherwise, why would Moshe have gone there, And the fact that Moshe knew a lot about the Torah and things like that before it was all given at Mount Sinai, because he had those books that were passed down from his fathers. And that's actually exactly what we read in Jubilees previously, in one of our previous Torah portions. But yeah, just very, very interesting stuff. And then in the book of Jubilees, it doesn't go into a lot of detail about what we're reading here in Exodus, but it gives us other details. And, well, we're going to see why I believe it was written by Moshe, the book of Jubilees I'm speaking about. And, well, we'll see when we get there. It's very fascinating. But yeah, if anything sticks out to anybody else, feel free to, speak up. It's all good. We love sharing information and ideas here. And then, let's see, we'll be going on to chapter 3 of Exodus.
Is that me?
That's you, Sumi.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready, sister.
And Moshe was shepherding the flock of Yithro, his father-in-law,
the Kohen of Midian. And he led the flock to the back of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of Elohim. And the messenger of Yahuah appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. And he looked and saw the bush burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. And Moshe said, Let me turn aside now and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn. And Yahuah saw that he turned aside to see, and Elohim called to him from the midst of the bush and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Do not come near here. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you are standing is Kodesh ground. And he said, I am the Elohim of your father, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzhak, and the Elohim of Yaakov. And Moshe hid his face, for he was afraid to look at Elohim. And Yahuah said, I have indeed seen the oppression of my people who are in Mitzrayim, and have heard their cry because of their slave drivers, for I know their sorrows. And I have come down to deliver them from the hand of the Mitzrites, and to bring them up from the land to a good and spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And now, see, the cry of the children of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Mitzrites oppress them. And now come, I am sending you to Pharaoh, to bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Mitzrayim. And Moshe said to Elohim, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Mitzrayim? And he said, Because I am with you, and this is to you the sign that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Mitzrayim, you are to serve Elohim on this mountain. And Moshe said to him, See, when I come to the children of Israel and say to them, The Elohim of your fathers has sent me to you, and they say to me, What is his name? What shall I say to them? And Elohim said to Moshe, I am that which I am. And he said, Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you. And Elohim said further to Moshe, Thus you are to say to the children of Israel, Yahuah, Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzhak, and the Elohim of Yaakov has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my remembrance to all generations. Go, and you shall gather the elders of Israel together and say to them, Yahuah, Elohim of your fathers. Did I just read that? Of your fathers, of Abraham, of Yitzhak, and of Yaakov appeared to me, saying, I have indeed visited you, and seen what is done to you in Mitzrayim. And I say, I am bringing you up out of the affliction of Mitzrayim to the land of Canaanite, and the Hittite, and the Amorite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, to a land flowing with milk and honey. And they shall listen to your voice, and you shall come, you and the elders of Israel, to the sovereign of Mitzrayim, and you shall say to him, Yahuah, Elohim of the Ibram, has met with us. And now please let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness to slaughter to Yahuah our Elohim. But I know that the sovereign of Mitzrayim is not going to let you go, not even by a strong hand. And I shall stretch out my hand and smite Mitzrayim with all my wonders, which I shall do in its midst. And after that he shall let you go. And I shall give this people favor in the eyes of the Mitzrites. And it shall be that when you go, you shall not go empty-handed. But every woman shall ask from her neighbor and from the stranger in her house objects of silver and of objects of gold and garments, and you shall put them on your sons and on your daughters, and shall plunder the Mitzrites.
Can I say something about that? Also, Jeremy, did y'all ever hear about the bramble bush? So they said the bush that burned, that where the Father spoke through to Moses, was actually a bramble bush. It was the same thing. It was the same thing that they made the crown out of for Yahusha's head. It was a bramble bush. I don't know how accurate that is. Yeah.
No, interesting. I hadn't heard that before. Oh, very interesting. And speaking of that, So we have this tree out here in Arizona. It's a Palo Verde tree, and it's literally exactly like a tree that's out there in Israel, and it has these huge thorns on it that get like they get like 5, 6, 7 inches sometimes. But that's also said to be the same tree that, that crown of thorns was made with as well. And I can see why. Those thorns, you barely have to touch them and they're already going into your skin. But I just thought that was fascinating as well. But that would be interesting if it was that same exact bush. Fascinating. Definitely going to have to dig into that. And also, so as we read through Jubilees as well, the last few chapters of it, it's going to give a few more details about things that we read about here, like exactly why punishment was coming on Mitzrayim. I mean, we can kind of read why in the previous, what we've read so far, but it'll go into more specific details. Really interesting. And if anybody else would like to help read a chapter, feel free to let me know in the chat. And then we can let y'all read a chapter if you like, but if not, no worries. And we're going to be going on to chapter 4 here, and I can read chapter 4. But so far, some interesting stuff that we're seeing here. And if you haven't read through this before, which I'm sure most of us have, but the more you read through it, the more you see as well. Really, that's why it's called the Living Word. But I digress. So let me continue here in Exodus chapter 4. And Moshe answered and said, and if they do not believe me or listen to my voice and say, Yahuah has not appeared to you, say, and if they do not believe me, I thought I read that wrong. Sorry, that was just, it's worded kind of interesting. Anyways, and Yahuah said to him, what is in your hand? And he said, a rod. And he said, throw it on the ground. So he threw it on the ground, and it became a serpent. And Moshe fled from it. And Yahuah said to Moshe, reach out your hand and catch it by the tail. So he reached out his hand and seized it, and it became a rod in his hand. So that they believed that Yahuah Elohim of their fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzhak, and the Elohim of Jacob has appeared to you. And Yahuah said to him again, now put your hand in your bosom. And he put his hand in his bosom. And when he took it out, see, his hand was leprous, like snow. And he said, put your hand in your bosom again. So he put his hand in his bosom again, and drew it out of his bosom, and see, it was restored, like his other flesh. And it shall be, if they do not believe you, or listen to the voice of the first sign, they shall believe the voice of the latter sign. So we see here Yahuah is going to give them not one, but even 2 chances to see and believe these signs that, yes, Moshe was sent from Yahuah. And it shall be, if they do not believe even these 2 signs or listen to your voice, that you shall take water from the river and pour it out on the dry land. And the water which you take from the river shall become blood on the dry land. And Moshe said to Yahuah, O Yahuah, I am not a man of words, neither before or since you have spoken to your servant. For I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. And Yahuwah said to him, Who has made man's mouth? Or who makes dumb, or deaf, or seeing, or blind? Is it not I, Yahuwah? So here's some more verses we see about it's Yahuwah who does these things. And sometimes I feel a bit like Moshe. Let's say I can relate to him. But we see there is 3 signs that are given. Yahuwah has given them many chances to, see these signs and know that Moshe was sent by Yahuwah. Continuing in verse 12. And now go, and I shall be with your mouth and teach you what to say. But he said, O Yahuwah, please send by the hand of him who you would send. And the displeasure of Yahuwah burned against Moshe. And he said, Is not Aharon the Levite your brother? I know that he speaks well. And see, he is also coming out to meet you. And when he sees you, he shall be glad in his heart. And you shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth. And I am with your mouth and with his mouth. And I shall teach you what to do. And he shall speak for you to the people. And it shall be that he shall be a mouth for you, and you shall be an Elohim for him. Now, really interesting, be an Elohim for him. And take this rod in your hand, with which you shall do the signs. And Moshe went and returned to Yithro, his father-in-law, and said to him, Please let me go and return to my brothers who are in Mitzrayim, to see whether they are still alive. And Yithro said to Moshe, Go in peace. And Yahuwah said to Moshe and Midian, Go, return to Mitzrayim, for all the men are dead who sought your life. So Moshe took his wife and his sons, and put them on a donkey, and he returned to the land of Mitzrayim. And Moshe took the rod of Elohim in his hand. Then Yahuwah said to Moshe, As you go back to Mitzrayim, see that you do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in your hand. But I am going to harden his heart, so that he does not let the people go. Interesting here, because in the Hebrew it doesn't say Yahuwah is going to harden his heart. It's more along the lines of he allows his heart to be hardened because, Pharaoh's, one, not following Yahuwah, and he is following his own heart. So what happens if we don't follow Yahuwah? He allows us to fall into these different deceptions and things like that, falling for our own heart. Really, he's just allowing Pharaoh to fall for his own hardened heart. I just think it's interesting the way they try to word it to make it seem like, Yahuwah's going to harden his heart. Well, he just allows it to happen. And then continuing verse 22.
Yeah, I think that's
You shall say
really
to Pharaoh.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, is that okay if I comment on that?
Yeah. No worries. Go right ahead.
I just wanted to add to what you had just said is that a lot of people the first time or even the second time or third time they read that, they're like, even like with other kings, Nebuchadnezzar and other people too, is that Yah is omniscient, so he knows everything from the beginning to the end. So it's not like these people were living a Yah-fearing life and he just hardened their heart and now they're a changed person. Like they were, he already knew from the beginning that this person was not going to be turning to him. And so he took advantage of that situation and allowed it to be all the way hardened. So, you know, some people are like, well, that, you know, that takes away from like free will. Somebody might question the fact, well, I thought we had free will, right? But Yah already knows what our choice was going to be from beginning to end.
Yeah, exactly. And Pharaoh had the free will to follow Yahuah or his own heart. Yahuah already knew that the decision that was going to happen. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, he knows all what we're doing from before he made us. Yeah, precisely. So yeah, they try to use that to like make it seem like Yahuwah is this bad person or a bad Elohim because, you know, he hardens people's heart. And it's just, they don't have understanding and they go for what the wording says versus digging into the meaning and the context and what the actual Hebrew says there. But yeah, it's about Pharaoh falling for the hardness of his own heart. You know, when he sees these signs and these wonders that Moshe's doing, he could have been like, oh, wow, you know, he really is a powerful Elohim. I'm going to follow him. Instead, no, he's like, oh, well, I got magicians that can do all that. Yeah, this is why we're chosen or not from the beginning, from the foundations of the world. Yeah, exactly. He knows each of our hearts. Really, that's what it comes down to. It's always a matter of the heart. All right, let me continue here. And let's say, I think verse 22 is what we're in. Wait, where do we read about Moshe's staff being Joseph's staffs? That was Jethro. That Jethro got after he passed away. That's a good question, Wendy. I don't recall hearing about that before. Yeah, if anybody else knows anything about that. Yeah, interesting. Or if you figure out anything about that, Wendy, let me know. Let us all know here. I'd like to look into that more. Yeah, I never heard it. Moshe's staff was Joseph's staff that Jethro got. Interesting. All right. Yeah, if anybody knows any further information, you know, I'd hear it. Yeah. The same staff that was used to part the sea and bring the water out of the rock. Exactly. The same staff. I have heard that the coat of animal fur that Yahuwah made for Adam and Eve was passed down. I've heard that. I believe, no, it's not Jubilees that talks about it. Maybe it's something else that mentions it. Yeah, all the way to Nimrod. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff like that, you know, the coat of fur, the staff of Moshe. There's even like the coins of Judas and things like that, you know, I've heard all these things. I cannot verify whether it's a fact or not. So, but all definitely interesting things to look into. And just really evidence on how much they really hide a lot of this, truth that leads back to where? Scriptures. Yeah, I've heard all the way to Nimrod, yeah, and beyond. Yeah, just some interesting stuff to look into. Yeah, Ham hit it. Yeah, I've heard all about that. It's definitely very interesting. Definitely very interesting. I haven't had a chance to really dig in super deep to all of that, but I would like to. Well, thanks for sharing that picture, Sumi. Love it. Ah, that's where it comes from. The Jewish Midrashic literature. Interesting. By the way, thank you for that. Yeah. And that definitely helps. Thank you. Because I'd never even heard of that. Perhaps that's the reason why. But anyways, let me continue reading here in Exodus. Verse 22. And you shall say to Pharaoh, thus said Yahuah, Yisrael is my son, my firstborn. So I say to you, let my son go to serve me. But if you refuse to let him go, see, I am killing your son, your firstborn. And it came to be on the way, in the lodging place, that Yahuah met him and sought to kill him. And Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son and threw it at Moshe's feet and said, you are indeed a bridegroom of blood to me. So he let him go. And she said, you are a bridegroom of blood because of the circumcision. And Yahuah said to Aharon, go meet Moshe in the wilderness. And he went and met him on the mountain of Elohim and kissed him. So we see all covenants are usually made with blood, which is why Yahusha HaMashiach shed his blood. No worries. It's always good to have children around, Sister Sumi. They're just, they're the cheerful background noise. All right, verse 27. And Yahuah said to Aharon, go meet Moshe in the wilderness. And he went and met him on the mountain of Elohim and kissed him. And Moshe told Aharon all the words of Yahuah, who had sent him, and all the signs which he had commanded him. And they went with Aharon and gathered together all the elders of the children of Israel. And Aharon spoke all the words which Yahuah had spoken to Moshe. And he did the signs before the eyes of the people. And the people believed, and they heard that Yahuah had visited the children of Israel, and that he had looked on their affliction. And they bowed their heads and did obeisance. Oh, thanks for sharing those pictures, Sister Sumi. So yeah, we see Moshe, Aharon, they went and gathered together the elders of the children of Israel. They let them know all the words which Yahuah spoke to Moshe, also performing the signs. And then we see that they believed him, and they'd heard about all of this. So they did obeisance, bowed down and said, yes, we'll follow you. Brother Michael. Shabbat Shalom. Yeah, I think we know that that's Brandon there. Sumi. Speaking of Brandon, you want to read next, brother? And actually, because it's chapter 5, we're only going to chapter 6, verse 1. So if you want to read through to verse 1 of chapter 6, it'd be all good. Being disruptive. If you guys are able to read, that is. And by the way, Shabbat Shalom, Brother Greg as well. And Jermaine, Sherry, AP.
Shabbat Shalom.
He said yes. He's got to deal with the disruptive ones though first, huh? So yeah, we see Pharaoh. Well, first of all, this Pharaoh, he didn't know Joseph. He chose to follow his own hardened heart, and he would rather have the children of Israel be his slaves than to let them go. And yes, Shalom, Sherry. Good to have you here. And Sarah as well. Shabbat Shalom.
Hello. Shalom
Good to see you,
everyone.
sister.
Thank you. What are we talking about today?
So we're just going over the Torah portion here for Exodus. We just started in Exodus.
Okay.
And we're going to read the Jubilees account.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about the book I'm putting together. Go over it, read a couple chapters out of it as well.
Oh, I'm so excited for that.
Me as well. It's a long process to, well, really do it all, but I'm starting to get it down.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I think they do that on purpose, but anyway, it's all good. Good to see you here, though, sister.
Thank you. Good to see everybody here.
And let's see. So, yeah, we were talking about Pharaoh following his own hardened heart. And then, well, what we see next here, Pharaoh asks, who is Yahuah that I should obey his voice? And then Moshe and Aharon come in like, oh, you don't know Yahuah? Well, let us show you. And yet, whenever you are ready, Brandon.
All right, hold on. Just give me just a second. We're on chapter 5, right?
Yeah, chapter 5.
All
and then
right.
if you want to read to chapter 6, verse 1, because that's going to be what we read up to here in Exodus.
Okay. So just read verse 1 in chapter 6.
Yeah.
I got you. All right. All right, it says, and afterwards Moshe... I got you. It says, and afterwards Moshe and Aaron went in and said to Pharaoh, thus said Yahuah, Elohim of Israel, let my people go so that they celebrate a festival to me in the wilderness. And Pharaoh said, who is Yahuah that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I do not know Yahuah, nor am I going to let Israel go. And they said, the Elohim of the Ibrim has met with us. Please let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness and slaughter to Yahuah our Elohim, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword. But the sovereign of Mitzrayim said to them, Moshe and Aaron, why do you take the people from their work? Get back to your burdens. And Pharaoh said, see, the people of the land are many now, and you make them cease from their burdens. And the same day Pharaoh commanded the slave drivers of the people and their foremen, saying, you are no longer to give the people straw to make bricks as before. Let them go and gather straw for themselves, and lay on them the required amount of bricks which they made before. Do not diminish it, for they are idle. That is why they cry out, saying, let us go and slaughter to our Elohim. Let more work be laid on the men, so that they labor in it, and not pay attention to words of falsehood. And the slave drivers of the people and their foremen went out and spoke to the people, saying, thus said Pharaoh, I do not give you straw. Go take straw for yourselves wherever you find it, for your work shall not be diminished. And the people were scattered in all the land of Mitzrayim to gather stubble for straw. And the slave drivers were hurrying them on, saying, complete your work, your daily amount, as when there was straw. Also the foremen of the children of Israel, from Pharaoh's slave drivers had appointed over them, were beaten, were asked, why have you not completed your task in making bricks both yesterday and today as before? And the foreman of the children of Israel came and cried out to Pharaoh, saying, why do you treat your servants this way? There is no straw given to your servants, and they say to us, make bricks. And see, your servants are beaten, but your own people are at fault. But he said, you are idle, you are idle. That is why you say, let us go and slaughter to Yahuah. So now go work. And straw is not giving to you, but deliver the amount of bricks. And the foreman of the children of Israel saw that they were in trouble after it was said, you are not to diminish your daily amount of bricks. And when they came out from Pharaoh, they met Moshe and Aaron, who stood there to meet them. And they said to them, let Yahuah look on you and judge, because you have made us loathsome in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of his servants to give a sword in their hand to kill us. And Moshe returned to Yahuah and said, Yahuah, why have you done evil to this people? Why did you send me? For ever since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has done evil to this people, and you have not delivered your people at all. And Yahuah said to Moshe, now see what I do to Pharaoh, for with a strong hand he is going to let them go, and with a strong hand he is going to drive them out of his land.
It reminds me of the government, like how when we come into the state and we want to get free from the government, everything stays the same. The prices and everything, we still have to do the same stuff as far as like paying rent and to get out of this mess we're in. It's like the government literally comes down harder on us. It seems that way anyway.
Yeah. I think that's where really all of this came from as well. There's nothing new under the sun. So it's the same type of oppression. Of course, in a different style and a different way, but that same type of oppression. And yeah, we see instead of, following, obeying what Yahuah through Moshe was conveying to him, he just refused. He gave in to the hardness of his own heart. And he was like, no, I'd rather have slaves. He was saying, no, I will not allow them to rest on, my Kodesh days or on your Kodesh days. I'm not going to allow that. So that's part of the reason why Mitzrayim gets punished as well. And I kind of mentioned that before, because Yisrael is Yahuwah's firstborn. So if Pharaoh did not let him go, he would take away Pharaoh's firstborn. And we see Yahuah keeps his own word.
There's another.
And now we're going to get into.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, brother. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry to disturb you. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
No.
There's another thought that's coming to my mind while listening is A, what were they constructing? Why did they need bricks, etc.? And B, generally, weren't they supposed to be sort of sheep farmers and herders and sojourners? What made living in Egypt at the time so attractive for them?
Yeah. No, that's a good question, and not a disturbance at all, brother. You know, they were, to put it in a modern style terms, you know, like with our supermarkets and, you know, convenience stores and just everything. You know, all
Absolutely.
we have
My
to do
point.
is, yeah,
That
yeah, like all we have to do.
Sorry,
Go
they're
ahead, brother.
completely
Go
in the
ahead.
world, aren't they? They're in Egypt. They're kind of well, have they made it easy? Well, I'm not sure. I think they thought they're in an easy place, perhaps, and then they end up not being in an easy place. And I think that we could apply this in our own lifestyles at the moment. You know, we can feel that there is an oppressive hand against our living within cities and city walls and districts and such like. And I think, you know, I know a lot of you have, but it's even more encouraging for us to try and detach ourselves away from the way that the world is run, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I agree. And really that's a big part of the whole problem is they have gotten us all used to this, you know, quote unquote convenience. That way if something does go down, most of the people have no idea how to basically provide for themselves in the wilderness. But yeah, no, thank you for pointing that out, brother. That's a part of the whole reason why I believe, you know, the whole mystery Babylon is Babylon, Egypt, and Rome just all mixed together in one. And that's what we see. We see, you know, Babylonian cities with Egyptian obelisks and pyramids and eyeballs. We see Roman governments that, well, use all these Egyptian signs. Then they put burdens on the people just like Egypt used to do, just like Babylon, all of these things. So it's all of that just really mixed into one. The beast system of Mystery Babylon. And so, yeah, we are going to get into the corresponding chapters in Jubilees now that we just read in Genesis. Yeah, exactly, Brother Kelly. Rome never died, neither did Egyptian ways. Exactly. Yeah, Babylonian religion, Egyptian financial, Roman government. That's it. That's it right there. And it's not just like here in the U.S., it's, you know, really all over. Because they have the same style governments, you know, in most of these, well, at least the bigger countries across the earth. Yeah, the symbolism 100% gives it away. Exactly, Brother Kelly. That's that's really the key into, you know, understanding all of that, the symbolism itself. Once you see it everywhere. And Sumi, did you want to or are you able to read chapter 46 of Jubilees? The Roman Catholic Church is the wealthiest corporation on earth. Yeah, exactly. And the synagogue of Hasatan, who, rides on its back. Well, they are known for their wealth.
No, she's going to read. All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Where are we at? 46?
Yeah, just read my phone.
Yeah, 46. Jubilees.
I'm going to go to Telegram. Give me just a minute.
I did turn it off already.
You got to go to your Telegram.
No worries.
Okay, chapter 46. And it came to be that after Yaakov died, the children of Israel multiplied in the land of Mitzrayim, and they became a great nation, and they were of one accord in heart, so that brother loved brother, and every man helped his brother, and they increased abundantly and multiplied exceedingly. 10 weeks of years, all the days of the life of Joseph. And there was no adversary, nor any evil all the days of the life of Joseph, which he lived after his father Yaakov. For all the Mitzrites honored the children of Israel all the days of the life of Joseph. And Joseph died, being 110 years old. He lived 17 years in the land of Canaan, and 10 years he was a servant, and 3 years in prison. And 80 years he was under the sovereign, ruling all the land of Mitzrayim. And he died, and all his brothers, and all that generation. And he commanded the children of Israel, before he died, that they should carry his bones with them when they went out from the land of Mitzrayim. And he made them swear regarding his bones, for he knew that Mitzrites would not again take and bury him in the land of Canaan. For Machamoron, sovereign of Canaan, while dwelling in the land of Ashur, fought in the valley with the sovereign of Mitzrayim, and slew him there, and pursued after the Mitzrites to the gates of Ermon. But he was not able to enter, for another, a new sovereign, had become sovereign of Mitzrayim, and he was stronger than he. And he returned to the land of Canaan, and the gates of Mitzrayim were closed, and none went out, and none came in to Mitzrayim. And Joseph died in the 46th Yobel, in the 6th week, in the 2nd year, and they buried him in the land of Mitzrayim. And his brothers died after him. And the sovereign of Mitzrayim went out to battle with the sovereign of Canaan in the 47th Yobel, in the 2nd week, in the 2nd year. And the children of Israel brought all the bones of the children of Yaakov, except the bones of Joseph. And they buried them in the field in the cave of Machpelah in the mountain. And the majority returned to Mitzrayim, but a few of them remained in the mountains of Hebron and Amram. Your father remained with them. And the sovereign of Canaan was victorious over the sovereign of Mitzrayim. And he closed the gates of Mitzrayim. And he devised an evil plan against the children of Israel, of afflicting them. And he said to the people of Mitzrayim, See, the people of the children of Israel have increased and multiplied more than we. Come and let us deal wisely with them before they become too many, and let us afflict them with slavery before battle comes upon us, and before they also fight against us. Maybe they shall join themselves with our enemies and go up out of our land, for their hearts and faces are towards the land of Canaan. And he appointed over them slave masters to afflict them with slavery. And they built strong cities for Pharaoh, Pithom and Ramses. And they built all the walls and all the fortifications which had fallen in the cities of Mitzrayim. And they made them serve with harshness. And the more they dealt evilly with them, the more they increased and multiplied. And the people of Mitzrayim loathed the children of Israel.
Awesome. Thank you, sister. So we see a lot more detail of what happened. Basically, who this new sovereign of Mitzrayim and why he didn't know Joseph. Because Canaan, the sovereign of Canaan, fought with the sovereign of Mitzrayim and won. Then because the sovereign of Canaan gained control of Mitzrayim, he closed the gates to it, cut it all off. Then, as we see, he devised an evil plan against Israel to afflict them. This is why they got put into slavery, all these burdens cast on them. This is why he did not know Joseph as well. But we will see here next that Jubilees will go into some other details that Genesis didn't go into. And then we see, vice versa in Genesis, that Genesis goes into detail that Jubilees doesn't. But we see that it all lines up. It all corresponds. Nothing is, contradictory as many like to claim. But let me go ahead and start chapter 47 here. And in the 7th week, in the 7th year, in the 47th Yobel, your father went out from the land of Canaan, and you were born in the 4th week, in the 6th year, in the 48th Yobel. This was the time of tribulation on the children of Israel. So, is another big clue that Jubilees here was written by Moshe, because we have perspectives from, the messenger, the angel speaking to Moshe here. And Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, issued a command regarding them, that they should throw all their male children which were born into the river. And for 7 months, they threw them in until the day that you were born. And your mother hid you for 3 months. And they informed regarding her. But she made an ark for you, and covered it with pitch and asphalt, and placed it in the reeds on the bank of the river. And she placed you in it for 7 days. And your mother came by night and nursed you, and by day Miriam, your sister, guarded you from the birds. So we see Moshe, he was put in that ark again. It calls it an ark. But we see that it doesn't go into a lot of detail like Genesis did. But he gave that man that because the maidservants were not, slaughtering the male-born children, Pharaoh ordered that they just be thrown into the river if they were found. So this was happening, and then Moshe is the one that made it out. And Moshe is the one, his mother ended up being his caretaker when Pharaoh's daughter found him. So really just a barakoth all around, a blessing. But I just wanted to point out, that ark. And they still had, his mother was watching over him and his sister. This is how he survived 7 days in that ark. And in those days, Tharmuth, the daughter of Pharaoh, came to bathe in the river. And she heard your voice crying, and she told her female servants to bring you out. And they brought you to her. And she took you out of the ark, and she had compassion on you. And your sister said to her, shall I go and call you one of the Ibri women to nurse and suckle this infant for you? And she said, go. So right there we get more details on which, servant was the one saying this. It was Moshe's sister. Hence how it ended up being Moshe's mother, because it was his sister that said, hey, I'll go get one of these women. And she went and called your mother Jochebed, and she gave her wages, and she nursed you. And afterwards, when you were grown up, they brought you to the daughter of Pharaoh, and you became her son. And Amram, your father, taught you writing. And after you had completed 3 weeks, they brought you into the royal court. And you were there, and you were 3 weeks of years at court until the time when you went out from the royal court and saw a Mitzrite smiting your friend, who was one of the children of Israel. And he slew him and hid him in the sand. So it goes into more details on exactly why Moshe was, more particular over this Hebrew man, because it was one of his friends. He knew him. And on the second day, you found 2 of the children of Israel striving together. And you said to him who was doing the wrong, why do you smite your brother? And he was wroth and displeased and said, who made you a prince and judge over us? Do you think to kill me as you killed the Mitzrite yesterday? And you feared and fled on the account of these words. And since we're only going to 48:3, I'll just go ahead and continue reading here. In chapter 48, and in the 6th year of the 3rd week of the 49th Yobel, you departed and dwelt in the land of Midian 5 weeks and 1 year. And you returned to Mitzrayim in the 2nd week, in the 2nd year, in the 5th Yobel. So we see Jubilees is just giving the exact dates of what we just read in Genesis when it all occurred. And you yourself know what he spoke to you on Mount Sinai, and what Prince Mastema desired to do with you when you were returning into Mitzrayim on the way, when you met him at the lodging place. And he did not with all his power seek to slay you and deliver the Mitzrites out of your hand, when he saw that you were sent to execute right ruling and vengeance on the Mitzrites. So we see this is just, it correlates to exactly with what we just read in Exodus, the Exodus account. It gives more details about certain situations that played out. And we see it was Hasatan, Prince Mastema, as Jubilees calls him. It's Hasatan. He's the one who was, really entered into Pharaoh. Sorry. Hasatan's the one who entered into Pharaoh, who was the one hardening his heart. Just like we see Hasatan entered into Judas, Yehuda, with Hamashiach. And we only have, 2.5 more chapters here in the book of Jubilees. And as we could see how it corresponds with Genesis, some of Deuteronomy, we also see in there the same laws and statutes for what became the Levitical priesthood duties of sacrifice and things like that. So really, we see Jubilees lines right up with everything we read in Genesis and Exodus. This is why it was a foundational thing for the sons of Zadok who were in Qumran, the Dead Sea Scrolls, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. And speaking of that, that is going to be what my book is all about. Proving the sons of Zadok, who they are, proving the Dead Sea Scrolls, their importance, showing how our modern canon came about. which was through Rabbi Akiba. Not many people know about Rabbi Akiba in the Council of Jamnia. And there are so many who they toss out the Book of Jubilees and say, oh, it's contradictory, it doesn't line up. But yet, on the other hand, they're over here promoting and reading the Book of Jasher, which literally is contradictory and does not line up. You can read it right next to Genesis like we did the Book of Jubilees, and you will see immediately contradictions. And it's just really, it blows my mind that, the same people that like to deny the Book of Jubilees and reject it and toss it out, discredit it, they're the ones supporting the Book of Jasher and things like that. The same people that say, oh, the apocryphal books are taken out for a reason. They're the same people that will support the Book of Jasher, though. And it's just, it's fascinating. It blows my mind, And actually, before I get into, my book, talking about it, reading a couple chapters, I wanted to stop this recording and then start another one so I can easily separate it when I go to upload it on YouTube. And Shabbat Shalom, Angel, good to see you here. Good to hear, brother. Today has been a good day. We've been praying for you, brother. And before we go into the next, about the book and everything, let's see, is Marissa here? If Marissa is able to play a song or wants to wait till later. I don't know, it's up to you, sister. But let me go ahead and stop this recording, and then I'll start this next one